So our virtual machine is ready and deployed in the Azure portal. Now I also want to show you, take a minute to understand how beautifully you can interact with this virtual machine using PowerShell. So at this moment, as you notice, this machine has an A2 size VM. So that is equivalent to 2 CPUs and 3.5 gigs of memory. Great. So what we can do is try to interact with this VM from PowerShell and change the size right from there. So I do not have to get into this size section and then modify the values from here, right? This can be done with PowerShell. And not just the size, I'm referring to one particular example here, but anything that you see in this console can be modified and you can interact with this virtual machine in every possible way. I will launch the PowerShell here and then connect to my Azure subscription quickly. Yeah, connect to my Azure account. All right. Oh. Okay. So what we're gonna do is retrieve this virtual machine using PowerShell, see the number of virtual machines we have, and then connect to this, play around the properties, and update the size of the virtual machine, let's say. In this case, it says that my web server, which is located in a resource group called prod IT, has a VM size of standard underscore A2. Now I want to maybe decrease it or scale up to A3 or A4 maybe. And we will see how we can modify it using PowerShell. In PowerShell, if we ever have to declare variables, we have to declare with a dollar. And then dollar, you can put anything, dollar VM, dollar ABC, dollar your name, anything. And then you say get -VM. That means whatever is the output of this command will then go as an input to this. That means the output of this is stored inside $VM, right? In this case, I got an error message because my command is not right. So it will be get -azvm. So this particular output, this one that you see, is going and sitting inside $VM, right? So I can then say $VM dot a particular attribute like resource group name in this case. Yeah, so that's how it is. So I said $VM dot resource group name is that. So what will I get if I do $VM dot name? It will be web server. $VM dot location will be the location of the virtual machine. Now because I have saved the output of get-azure virtual machine inside this variable, I can reuse this variable and get the respective properties of those individual sections. Now I will use this variable further to change the properties of the virtual machine. I have to first declare that my hardware profile of the VM will be standard underscore A3. I'm saying that my new virtual machine, which is web server, will no longer have standard underscore A2, but will have standard underscore A3. I hit enter. So now this variable is also declared. Now I have to update this particular attribute, which is the VM size. To update the attribute, the command is update -azvm, and you need to tell which VM do you want to update with the attribute -vm, and then my VM is there inside that attribute called $VM. You see the enter. Well, the resource group name is prod underscore IT because it's looking for an input called resource group. Let's give it that. Just wait for a minute for the VM size to get updated. I'll go back to the UI and see what's going on here. This should change to A3. The click of a button, standard A3. So if you have this part scripted somewhere in your repository, you can quickly change the attributes from standard A3 back to A2. So when there is a lot of load on the virtual machine and you get a lot of statistics here that the CPU is reaching 90% or 80%, you can quickly run your script to change the VM size from 2 CPUs to 4 CPUs, and that also increases the memory. This demonstration was to tell you that you can interact with your resources in Azure with PowerShell. And also you learned about variables and how data can be stored inside the variable. Then that variable can be used again and again in the script.